Quake 4, everybody. A game nobody on board requested, but one that I decided to cover at random. What is Quake, you might say? Well, in most universes, a little game company called id, who popularized the first-person shooter genre, made a game called Wolfenstein 3D. That game had you shooting Nazis. It's real easy to hate fascists, you know. It popularized the idea of them Nazis having crap like mech suits. After that little gem, the developers sat down and decided to make Doom, a game about an incredibly angry man shooting demons for killing his rabbit, which may or may not have been his daughter, and the rabbit thing is how his brain psychologically interprets it after all the insane trauma he's been through, but, you know, bunny or human daughter, dad rage is real. So it is out making all these games, right? Wolfenstein in 1992, Doom in 1993, and a whole bunch of other games that I'm not going to talk about right now, because good lord. All these games utilize a 3D engine that use sprites to represent objects on a screen, while allowing you to traverse a three-dimensional environment. At the time when this was released, this was what some might call a big fucking deal. But a little programmer by the name of John Carmack had a vision of fighting more than floating sprites that moved as if they were slideshows. No, he wanted a fully 3D engine in which everything that was possible was rendered with polygons. Except nobody had really done that at the time, and the technology for it didn't really exist. So it just straight up invented it. This led to a huge boom in technology in the 90s and influenced games going forwards, as the bones of Quake are often found hidden like a spooky skeleton in the basements of far more advanced games. So what was Quake about, I hear you asking? Fighting Lovecraftian monsters in dark castle settings, ending in you straight up fighting Sub-Nickoroth, aka the Black Goat with 1,000 young. Neat! So, what is Quake 2 about then? What monstrosity are you facing? What horrible Lovecraftian creature? Oh, no, sorry, it's cybernetically enhanced aliens now. Yeah, seriously. Quake 2 just throws on all that Lovecraftian crap in favor of a somewhat generic space marine battling aliens. This is whatever, I guess. I don't know. On one hand, Lovecraftian concepts are either underutilized, or I swear to God, every game made about them winds up being a janky piece of crap that crumbles under any stress or scrutiny. Looking at you, Call of Cthulhu. Twice! But the shift to a more comfortable concept of hard science fiction apparently came out because John Romero left the company in order to make Dai Katana or something, so nobody really cared if the game kept to its roots. Now, I just want to say that I have never actually played Quake or Quake 2. I've seen a lot of articles from various universes discussing the game, but the shift in narrative is pretty interesting to me. It's super weird because there doesn't seem to be any real desire to change the story, but there wasn't a lot of respect for the source material either. Quake 2's whole deal is that a Marine is dropped in on a planet to defeat the hive mind-like collection called the Strogg. The Strogg are, functionally, like a more gritty, more gruesome version of the Borg from Star Trek. Only instead of creating one giant hive mind, it's more like a weird harvesting of organic parts. You know what people are made out of, right? Meat. So, at first glance, this idea is actually kind of compelling. The Strogg invade Earth and kill millions to suck them up and strogify them. Then humanity gets its war boner going on and counter-invades. Your Marine person drops in on the Strogg homeworld, killing the commander of the Strogg forces, and the day is saved. So what's Quake 3 about then? Does it return to the Lovecraftian tones of its progenitor, perhaps allowing you to battle some obscure and vaguely racist idea of others? Or maybe the Strogg, big bad guys from the second game, make a return as the violent invaders who wish to slurp up all your goodies. Neither, really. Yeah, Quake 3, it's a multiplayer-only arena shooter that was highly praised at the time for its technical achievements, and being a snappy and fun concept. But, I mean, that's kinda useless for me. Okay, so, Quake 4. It's the return of the series after 6 years of hibernation. It's the first fully 3D FPS series, so what are they gonna do? Cthulhu or Strogg? And the Strogg are the winners! Yeah, Quake 4 sees the Strogg return as the big bads of the series, cementing the death of the original theming and hoisting the Strogg up for all to see. Ooh, you glorious, glorious bastards! Quake 4 was released in October 2005 IMU, and was not created by developers id, but instead handled by a studio known as Raven Software. It was overseen creatively by id, though. Quake 4 was released on most PCs, as well as the Xbox 360, which is how I first encountered the game. Poor old 360. How I loved you. You were a gateway to many games. Oh, you motherfucker! A sort of direct sequel to the second game in the series, Quake 4 starts off with a lovely shot of a man standing in a space. Oh no, he's not standing. He's floating. Yeah, as it turns out, the war didn't end with the Strogg Macron being defeated. That big bad in Quake 2? No, the Strogg kept pumping out cybernetic troops, and you jump into the shoes of a guy named Matthew Kane. Oh, hey, Kane. Spelt differently, but that's neat. You can really tell that Quake 4 set the standard for so many FPS game tropes in the next 10 years of gaming, as immediately the game starts with the ship crashing and your screen being all fuzzy. People get shot in front of you, and you don't really start with the battle, but partly through it. This is something that I swear every Call of Duty campaign did after this. Anyway, you get that pistol to start with, and I'm just going to say 2 words. Hot garbage. It has unlimited ammo and a flashlight attached to it, but it's frankly a useless toy that we will immediately forget about, except when accidentally switching to it. Quake 4 was built on the id Tech 4 engine, which was the direct competition to the Source engine at the time. Fun fact for you, id focused more on lighting with their engine, while Source decided to try their hands at physics. This can be seen by the constant usage of shadows in Quake 4 that actively make it impossible to see sometimes. You know that feeling you get when a developer gets a fun new toy and they really want to try it out, so they start using it in literally everything? And then it gets overused and it sucks the enjoyment out of the game because it's more of a tech demo for this technology than it is about the actual gameplay? Yeah, that's Doom 3. Quake 4 doesn't actually force you to use a fucking handheld flashlight the whole time. I still feel that lighting is often too dark in this game, but they were giddy to use it and I can't really blame them. Now, the game was released right around the time when the 360 first came out, and while it was mainly a computer game first, I have a running theory that the game was being developed for the original Xbox. There are graphical choices that strike me as either immensely lazy or downright used as an attempt to save on memory. Take this giant skybox that is one huge flat texture in a game that came out in 2005. I mean, seriously, they didn't even attempt to make this look any better, and it's not even a high quality texture. The damn thing is fuzzy as hell. Anyway, I want to talk about the graphics for a few minutes. The introduction to the enemies actually shows off the engine doing a surprisingly good job of modeling the enemies. The Strogg are varied enough in their build, animations, and sound design that you can almost always pick them out at a glance. That's key when designing a game of this nature, especially if you want the gameplay to be fast and snappy. If I have to guess what it is I'm looking at, I won't be able to make a split-second decision. So, points there. However, Quake 4 has what I like to call Xbox face. You see, between the Xbox original and the 360, there was a weird epidemic in the overall design of human faces. Everyone looks like they were carved from the flesh of a potato. I legitimately struggled to tell some of these characters apart. Every Marine you encounter has the same build, the same height, and some of them even sound like the same actor doing a different accent sometimes. I mean, look at this beautiful boy! So handsome! Mwah. Quake doesn't really have a lot of varied characters. The most important ones is this dude named Cortez, Scarface Officer, Friendly Black Dude, and Science Man.
Corporal, I refuse to repair this power transfer until I'm assigned additional protection.
Strauss, we've been over this. It's not
But
gonna
I
happen.
am in mortal danger. This area is filled with Strogg.
Thank you, Private.
I think he's voiced by Peter Stormare. Yeah, it's Peter Stormare. Since half of these weirdos look exactly the same, I mostly relied on the voice actors to pick them out. Picking up the Asar Rifle, or whatever you want to call it, this is your introduction to the second worst gun in the game, as well as the only one beside the pistol with a flashlight on it. You know, it's incredibly annoying that no other gun in the game has a flashlight attachment, not even another human one. But, like I said, the lighting issues in this game are not nearly to the degree that they are in Doom 3. The Assault Rifle is snappy, and it has a zoom-in feature that makes it fire in semi-automatic mode. I swear I don't know if this is true, but it feels like the damage is increased, which is,
Welcome to the UAC's Mars installation. Located tech mining and research facility is pushing the boundaries of the imagination each and every day. As
Huh. I'm sorry, that can't be related. Anyway, you find this dude with a broken spine and go collect a medic who can heal this jabroni. After that, I finally get some armor and... ah, crap! Well, so much for that. Yeah, I'm playing this on hard, which is the second highest difficulty. I try not to do the highest on first playthroughs, as the developers use it to be just cruel. But look at this melee damage, it's just freaking whack. Seriously, look at that! Death in this game typically comes in 3 flavors. An enemy whacks you and does half your health, followed by a stray hit scanner or a plasma bolt. You wind up doing self-damage enough that whatever you're dealing with wipes you out. Or you just get whittled down by enemy encounters as the game selfishly hoards all the health packs. I could easily beat this game in the hardest difficulty, but even on this difficulty, the damage is insane sometimes. You learn real fast that your best chance of survival is to wiggle around like an idiot and never let anything near you. So the shotgun is the next weapon on the list. We find it while running around doing random objectives to try and meet up at some landing zone or some such crap. As I've stated before, a good FPS shotgun can make or break a game, and Quake 4 has a... it's fine, I guess. I don't know how to explain it, but it is useful in the stupidest situations. It feels like it does random damage, which is fine for a looter shooter game with all kinds of abilities. But here, I swear I'll pump a guy with 2 shots and he'll die, and another with 3 or 4 and he'll just eat the lead and laugh. What I think is happening is that the spread is absolutely atrocious, to the point that half your shots miss if you aim at them and are not literally kissing them on the lips. However, the weirdest part is that the spread seems to only go out to a certain amount, meaning that the bigger the enemy is, the more effective it is, even at range. This leads to me jumping around trying to use it to clean up little guys, but I wind up taking more damage being close to them, then finding it works out shockingly well on enemies it really should have no right being used on. Anyway, as I'm running around and shooting the baddies, I notice this guy has an icon that labels him as Tech? Marines come in 3 flavors: Marine, Medic, and Tech. Oh, and wow, look at this! The Tech guy fully heals your armor if it's below like 50. That is neat. The Medic is supposed to do the same, but I don't know if it's bugged or not, but I could never get these assholes to heal me no matter how low I seemed. But the Tech dudes, they are bros. After lasering a door, we run into some dark areas, which really highlights the issues with the flashlight in this game. Since the assault rifle is the only one with a flashlight on it, you really can only use it in these dark rooms, even if you don't want to use it. You often find yourself doing these half-escort parts as well, and I gotta say, they do this shit really well. These guys move at an appropriate speed, they don't dilly-dally at all, and you rarely spend a lot of time waiting around for them. So far, most of the issues in this game are caused more by the engine and the design philosophy of the time than being outright poor gameplay. We reach, I guess, our commanding officer. 4 dudes, all the same height and build, with the same haircuts. Ugh. We have to take down this giant anti-air gun so the spaceship can land, and one of them hands me a grenade launcher. Awesome. This... oh, crap! Okay, seriously, why is its range so fucking small? Self-damage is a huge problem with explosives in this game. The grenade launcher is so easy to hit yourself with that I found myself tucking it away except for emergencies. That's both a problem and a weirdly pleasant part of the game, because the guns are almost all situationally good and have a better time against different enemies. This leads to you having to think about what gun you're using. A big dude running at you, either shooting lightning or glowing green, you better not nade him. But a pack of enemies not moving, hit him. I swear, these weapons are given the worst possible introductions. Take for instance the grenade launcher. You get in a tight environment and then find out its range is terrible and the grenades don't detonate on anything but enemies. So trying to hit anything with it takes too much skill to be worth using. Especially because you can hit yourself with it for half your freaking health. Anyway, after some old school janky puzzle solving that involves jumping on some boxes to get past this door, you utilize the cannon to blow open a blast door. Then you get to watch the Marines detonate the AA gun, so our ship can land. And what an impressive landing it is. It's honestly ahead of its time at this point. This kind of graphical shenanigans shows the Doom 3 engine was capable of a lot more than it was given credit for. Also, props to the ship. I dig its design. Next up is something that feels almost like a prototype for the later Wolfenstein reboot games. It's a no shooting level in which you wander around the ship, the USS Hannibal. Now, I know there were some people that hated this kind of stuff, where the action dies down and you're forced to interact with the story, but me personally, I adore this stuff. It gives you a very short breather between intense sections, and since the majority of this kind of stuff you see is optional, there's no one forcing you to do anything but walk the ship. The stuff I'm talking about is overhearing little conversations, like this.
The implant is evidently quite traumatic. The subject must be kept alive by a combination of steroids and health packs.
Now that is neat little lore. It fleshes out the story without forcing you to interact with it, and it helps sell to me that this is a real ship and a real war. Wolfenstein does this perfectly in the reboot games, and I swear, that prototype thing was not a joke. It really feels that way to me. One problem though, something I find a mix of sad and hilarious. Where are the women? This isn't even really a gender equality kind of thing. It's just there's women on the radio, they're flying the jets, but there's not a single female model in the game besides one enemy type? It's very distracting walking around this nicely modeled, lore-heavy section and not finding a single woman besides the ones you hear on the radios. I suppose it was probably a way to cut down on animations and modeling, but all these dudes look the same anyway, they all move the same. I guess it's just one of the earlier facets of gaming, but it's more notable than something to get enraged about. Check out these mechs though. Really boxy looking, but I kinda dig it. I like mechs like these over the more traditional Gundam designs. I feel like it gives them a kind of character that, just making a metal humanoid doesn't really give you. Since they're this boxy kind of almost forklift design, it almost looks like something that could happen in real life. Just look at it. Mwah.
The Macron's dead, eh?
Hey, you're Matthew Kane, aren't you?
No way.
I saw you when they brought you back from Space Station Armstrong. You look like you'd been mauled by a dozen pit bulls.
Well, that's rude. Wow, is my character model really that ugly looking? Oh my god, no, he looks like a potato! No, wait, everyone looks like that. Anyway, this meeting is about having to escort a big EMP to take down the Strogg communications, which apparently will cause the Strogg hook up to the whole thing to collapse. A real Star Wars Episode 1 kind of deal. We get to escort 4 convoys, which, you guessed it, they are named after the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse. I can just taste the cliches and it's delicious. Wait, so are we following the convoy? Oh no. Oh god. Car sections! Every single shooter with a car section is like a horrible coin toss. Is it going to be this torture in which you're held in place while the enemies have free reign to pound your ass with bullets? Or is it actually a well-programmed, fun section that balances taking damage over doing it? No, we're locked in place without cover! Enemies! Oh no! Oh. Okay, I'm invincible? The bullets are just stopping in front of me. I guess that's one way to prevent this from becoming insanely difficult. It's not even that long. What was the point?
Kane, where the hell have you been? Lieutenant Boss wants you to catch up with him. Hop on that truck and they'll get you where you need to be.
Oh, okay, so we get to get on a machine gun. Fucking Christ! It's so loud! Why is the sound of the machine gun like 100 times the sound of anything else? This section isn't bad, but it's far from the most entertaining part of this game. It's more like a chore you have to do to get to the really fun bits. Okay, we have to clear these turrets. Ah! That explosion! I am so sorry for how loud this is. I'll correct the volume, but for some ungodly reason, these explosions max out and I can't seem to get them quieter. It's either I can't hear anything and the explosions are tolerable, or the explosion deafens me and I'm left in agony. What was going through their heads? After some trial and error with this next part, I managed to make it off that damn car and into the building to shut off some kind of laser fence. Up until this point, we've basically been handing the Strogg their asses. So after some escorting, the Strogg finally start to dial everything up. People start getting killed off, and you finally get a new weapon in the arsenal. This one is Strogg made, I think. It's called the nail gun. It basically fires these small projectiles that have minor splash damage. It's alright, it has a long wind-up, but the gun really comes into its own later. Oh, and we also run into this big boy here, with some kind of railgun and a riot shield. Hey, check it out! It's a use for the grenade launcher. Oh, and at the end of the level, we wind up getting an upgrade to the nail gun that improves its ammo as well as shortens the speed up time. Oh no, it's a tank! That means there's vehicle combat. Everyone had to copy Halo back in this day, and I swear, the majority of them just pale in comparison to the control scheme for the Halo vehicles. And this tank controls like ass. Seriously, it slides 1,000 miles around like it's on permanent ice physics. It's a hover tank. For God's sakes, you think that would be good, but the problem is that any slight change in elevation causes the ridicule to bounce everywhere and throw your aim off. Top it off with these annoying ships that dodge your attacks and... The missiles! Make it stop! Die! Die! Oh good, Droidicus from Star Wars. Oh, and it's taking place in Tony Hawk Pro Skater. This tank is a curse. I swear I'm slipping and sliding all over the place. It's not like the thing is unusable, but that kind of makes it worse. It's almost functional enough that it is painfully irritating to drive. When something just doesn't work, it's easy to detach yourself from the hatred of the thing. This thing forces me to baby it into working. And the worst part is I can see what they were going for. But maybe it needed more time in the oven. Or maybe they should have compromised on level geometry. Or something. Oh, and we killed these giant spider things. They look pretty cool, I guess. Alright, well, we've moved from orange and brown to blue and gray. At least we have a palette change, so that's good. Surprise, we're apparently the only one who made it down to the 4 escorts, meaning it's up to the Horsemen of Death to kill the Strogg. And thankfully we have Science Man! Down here, the levels really start playing into the design of the Strogg forces. We also get to fight these flying trash can guys with hit scan weapons. I swear, the fact the shotgun is the best weapon at this point against these guys is really the weirdest part about this game. You can't predict what works against what enemies. The assault rifle should be the best, but it's effectively a beam you have to hold onto them, and while that is happening, they are whittling you down. What can you pop in and out of cover with to do rapid damage in one big burst? Shotgun. Yet they're at a distance. But since the shells just spread out, the trash guys are so big you wind up hitting them with every single pellet. This game is weird. Okay, well, the big spider came. It's called the Harvester, I guess, and it wiped out the squad and blew up the EMP we were going to fire. It killed one of the cool random dudes in the squad, too. So it's up to us to find the trash-talking Science Man. He'll help us shut down this operation manually. You know, the Destiny way, with bullets. Speaking of, we got this new gun, which is a big plasma rifle. It's one of the better guns in the game, but it's so ammo poor I go stretches on even being able to touch it due to the thing being empty. Pretty nice gun, all things considered. At this point, we're basically running around and fighting in little arenas. We don't have backup anymore, so we're fighting these complex enemy groupings by ourselves. I really feel like the game is finally opening up to its own possibilities. That's a lot of ammo and health. There's a boss fight coming up, isn't there? Oh yeah, here it is. This is a boss arena. And the boss is a pair of Driders? I was not expecting that, but conceptually they look pretty cool. They're also unfortunately total pushovers. Just keep moving and don't stand near any of the walls to avoid splash damage. Boss fights in FPS games, in my opinion, kinda sucked until around Doom 2016. It's a lot of moving left and shooting, so there's not a lot of rapid thinking requirements. Oh, I guess there is a big guy. You find something funny. Well, you get grabbed by Chuckles here, and now we wake up in the level with the mutilation. The most infamous part of the game, people really went bonkers over this. It's a first-person sequence in which you get your legs removed and you have your body augmented while your character is still conscious. The funny part is, I remember the sequence being a lot more graphic. Beyond the leg bits, it's pretty tame compared to what comes later. That's right, because you see, this sequence seems to have inspired every FPS maker that dabbled in horror or war after this. From being shot in the head in COD to having your fingers cut off in Outlast, being mutilated in first person is something the developers really love to play around with. And I can't blame them either, it's pretty cool. Scar Captain bursts into the room just as we are about to get turned into a full-on Strogg, and they free us from our little pod. There's a nod to the fact that we can't be activated by the Strogg by one of the engineers, but it's never addressed why they don't have a remote way to switch on the mind control stuff. Also, pretty cool is the fact that we can now understand the Strogg announcements, and we can read some of the consoles, like the implant is lightly translating for us. Anyway, we get Stroggified and the results are kinda disappointing. You get 25 to armor and health, and you do move faster, but honestly, the movement feels like everything was built for this amount of speed. It's a mix of not too quick, but not too slow. The health is a touch disappointing, but I'll take what I can get. We start the journey of zipping through levels while fending off enemies. One of the boys we are with gets taken by that German dude from Killing Floor 2. Scarecrow from Arkham Asylum. The Strogg doctor things. They have a little poison attack, and beyond this level, I don't think they ever really show up again, since they really aren't soldiers. This medical facility is responsible for turning soldiers into Strogg, which is another way the Strogg seem to be winning this war. They collect dead soldiers, whip them back up with cybernetic implants, and then send them out against the enemy they're fighting. The more soldiers you throw at them, the bigger their overall army becomes. You can see them doing experiments on soldiers all throughout, which is just lovely. At this point in the game, I swear I'm running out of ammo faster than I can get my grubby metal fingers on them. Also, straight up, Kane looks exactly like a red, helmetless Robocop. I mean, look at this. So this is a Robocop game now. Now we get the rocket launcher, which, as is the curse in this game, really feels like crap at first. It's not doing enough damage to enemies directly to kill them in one shot, and it's really easy to miss with, and the big enemies can tank the crap out of them. Thankfully, like most of the guns, this weapon eventually comes into its own. Anyway, everyone who tried to save you winds up getting killed, including the poor Scar officer here.
Situations, but you've really gone above and beyond. When we heard you and Strauss were missing at the hub, we assumed you'd been killed. It's sheer luck we found you in the medical labs. Don't worry, we'll get you back to the
If only there was something I could have done in that cutscene. Rest in peace, Scar Captain. You surely won't come back as an enemy later. Surely! Also, Strogg dogs. This thing is creepy because, is this a dog they turned into a Strogg? Or did they turn some poor dude into a quadrupedal dog monster? Ugh. His bark is worse than his bite, though. He summons enemies with these grenades, but Focus Fire and Fido is one dog that isn't going to heaven. Oh no! A mech! I'm genuinely afraid of this thing because of the tank. But, seeing as we have no choice... First impressions are not great. The mech walks kind of weird. It has this shuffle to it, and when you're moving and try to change directions, it painfully slows down for a few seconds. I suppose what is happening is either the legs are rotating on an axis into the direction you want to go, or it is just taking little sideways steps. It also fires these painfully slow missiles, just absolutely sluggish things. But I'm happy to say that this is way better than the tank ever could be. The problem with the tank was the bouncing of the reticule, but here the mech is slow and steady. It does mean that it's flat out impossible to dodge anything, but focus fire and concentration, nothing seemed unbeatable. Now we get to the spider harvester thing. Oh goody. Oh wait, I can lock onto parts of it? Why was this not a thing with any other point in the mech level? It's actually super satisfying to blow up parts of this little encounter. It ends a little too quickly for my liking. I'd give the mech section a solid 7. 8 if it was a little longer, but compared to the tank, that was fun. By the way, I forgot to mention, I guess we're trying to regroup at the USS Hannibal at this point, since the plan to destroy the Strogg network sort of ended in total failure, and Kane got his penis turned into a robot junk. We escape from the creepy Strogg facility and head into the new section. This new cutscene introduced the enemy to us, which I think is supposed to be a sort of tactical unit, since they look and have the same animations as the soldiers we fight alongside of. They look kind of like orange popsicles. Oh, they look like Kane, but with evil red eyes and face masks. They also sound a little like Combine. These guys are either absolutely deadly or complete pushovers, and it really depends on what weapon they have and the layout of the level. On open ground, you can wipe the floor with them, but if one of them has that plasma rifle, no. You also get this railgun, which is the sniper rifle of the game. This gun never really comes into its own. It isn't terrible, but it doesn't really do enough damage, and levels really never open up enough to give you advantage of the long range. It's also too long to reload, and since most enemies take about 2 shots to kill, 3 ammo magazine makes it feel a little unkind to use. Oh, and it doesn't really stagger half the time. You know, I forgot to mention it, but there's these weird flesh pods full of this green goo that we use to heal ourselves now that we're strogified. We saw them all over the place before, but until we got our little orange suit, we couldn't interact with them at all. Now they seem to shrink as if feeding us something. I wonder what they contain. Oh, Stroylight Green is people! Yeah, not only do the Strogg turn their enemies into their own soldiers, they grind up dead Strogg, dead humans, really anything that's near them that isn't useful enough, and they turn them into this sloppy goop that heals you, as visualized by this giant meat grinder. Nice! Oh, a giant stomach. Ugh. The Strogg are like baby birds. Gross. I guess everything gets digested through this. Well, a few buttons make the stomach sick, and we escape beneath it into the conveyor belt system. The next level has us meeting up with this dude who was in a little gore pit. To thank us, he upgrades our nail gun so you can track with it, which dramatically improves his power. It didn't really click with me at first, but what I realized was the nail gun is best used on squishier enemies in the game. A few homed-in nails and they drop like flies, while remaining ammo solvent. Eventually, Friend Man leads us to this place where he says we gotta stack up some boxes to get onto that catwalk. He'll stay here without a weapon or anything. Sure, that'll go well. We head off, and after some dark corridors, I pick up the lightning gun. Then I promptly forgot all about it, because I started arguing with someone about some important stuff. After a bit, I finally remembered to use it, basically right as I introduced this mini-boss. He's a really pissy charge guy that runs right at you after you shoot him a bit. He's a pushover though, so just keep shooting him. I finally remember to test the lightning gun out, and the curse continues. It's alright. It's basically a laser that makes people pop if you hold it on them long enough. I could do without the screen shake, though. This kind of reminds me of that part in Half-Life, but this time it makes sense why you're going on these weird belts. Besides a few deaths due to crap, like my jump failing me or getting hit by some boxes and stuff, we find this boss fight? I don't know. I guess the stomach digests part of it, and then this, I don't know, Mr. Tum Tum, we'll call him, he digests more of it. Who knows at this point? You know, Mr. Tum Tum reminds me of the boss in Wolfenstein the Old Blood. Except, turns out he isn't really a boss fight, but he's a button fight. Press 2 buttons to watch these cutscenes. Oh, also there's a whole section in which the human corpses are pulled along by these hooks. Fun. After we pop Mr. Tum Tum, his stomach acid melts the floor. Okay, why the hell do we take so much fall damage? I know fall damage isn't always realistic in these games, but for God's sakes, I'm taking damage from falls the game makes me do. Finally, we end up in some kind of dumping ground? I guess all the failed Strogg experiments get dropped down here. Zombies, baby! It ain't a 2000s era game without zombies! Those failed Strogg emerge from puddles of gore to swipe, leap, and zap at you. These zombies are super cool. I am an absolute sucker for zombie sections in games. But sadly this one is over in the blink of an eye. I really wanted to see these stumbly boys more often. Well. You know? Nah. Well, look who it is, if it isn't Officer Scars. Here starts a surprisingly fun boss fight, but one that is super hard at first. He keeps firing these annoying black holes at me, trying to pelt me with rockets in his tiny arena, and then regenerating himself with that stupid electrical conduit. Honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that the arena just opens up after a moment, I would think this would have been a huge pain in the ass. But once you get to the full arena, you can easily kite him around. For a boss fight in 2005, this is not bad at all. The game actually keeps getting better and better. It's really starting to become more and more engaging and fun. Once we're back on the Hannibal, the general agreement on Kane is that, well, he's kind of fucked. They aren't getting those implants out of him, but it also means that we can bypass tons of obstacles that only a Strogg could. Blessing and a curse. Though, let's be honest, there's no way Kane is getting a normal life after this. Dude looks like RoboCop, and RoboCop did not get a normal life. The people on board are just downright disrespectful to Kane, too. Almost everyone is commenting on him not being allowed in here, while these two dicks are just straight up discussing dismantling him. Hey, I got mauled by pit bulls, you jerks! Old White General shows back up, saying the EMP plan failed and apparently wouldn't have worked even if we'd successfully set off all 4 of them. Turns out the only way to do this is to blow up the core of the Strogg, someplace called the Nexus. Hey, that sounds familiar. Also, it turns out the Science Man is our best bet at getting past all the science wizardry that the Strogg have put up. And then Kane will be sent like a man-shaped missile of death to kill them all. Fine with me. Bring it on, Strogg boys! Predictably, the Strogg start attacking the Hannibal, forcing us to jump into... Yo, it's a drop pod! Hell jumpers drop feet first! This next sequence is a blast. You get a first-person view of dropping into the big tower, smashing through walls and crushing Strogg unfortunate enough to get in the way. Sick. This level is in chaos. There are Strogg running around while people are still slamming into the tower. People are screaming as they burn to death in pods that don't open. Others are engaging the off-guard Strogg the whole time. It's great! Earlier, we got an attachment for the shotgun which switches it from a slow single-shell reload to a magazine-fed thing. This boosts its ability slightly in long engagements, and while it still struggles to hit smaller enemies, this does make it more viable overall. Especially in these tight corridors where the shotgun really wants to shine. Near the end of the level, you finally get the BFG of the game, the same kind of black hole launcher the Scar Officer was firing. My first impression is that it is effectively a radical damaging sphere that does massive damage when you shoot it through enemies. It can yank smaller ones off the ground and flat out kill them, and it slices bigger enemy health pools in half or lower. What I didn't understand at the time was that the black hole gun actually has a weird reload system. You have to wait for it to spin up another one before you can fire it again. So swapping to it, then swapping away before you reload it, forces you to consider that it isn't actually reloaded yet. This balances the gun out a little bit, but I never really ran out of ammo for it, so It's not a bad BFG, but it isn't the best. It's a good solid B, maybe B+ with some strategy. I will say this, the quality of the levels is really going up every time we hit a loading screen. Heading downstairs to turn on the power, these 2 dudes with us comment on the atmosphere of this place. And I have to say, they are right. This place is creepy as hell. You head through the majority of this section without encountering any enemies, just people, welded to the walls, being used for something. Are they processing information? Are they fuel receptacles? I don't know. You pass by these pods that are painfully obvious to contain enemies, and surprise! Turning on the power wakes up these siren ladies. They're the only female models in the game, and they're fast and deadly if you don't pay attention to them. They have this little sonic screech if you get near them, but I only got killed by it once, I think? The return to this area has you fighting all of the enemies you just woke up. This is an amazing level. Okay, so we get back upstairs and one of the Starship Trooper pilot ladies is shouting constantly that she wants to be let in. I know! I'm going! Calm your titties! Once I finally let her inside, it apparently doesn't take long for some giant monster to burst out of the ground and kill everyone. Ugh. Nice of the developers to show us a boss early, though. We reach the top and get a view of this wonderful JPEG I mentioned earlier. Just why? Turning a button causes this big laser to shoot at the JPEG, doing, well, I don't know, something? Hooking up to the Nexus? Ugh. Who cares? Let's shoot Strogg. So to get to the other 2 towers, we gotta ride some little tram thing. At some point, a dude upgraded my rocket launcher, and now it has the ability to track where I'm pointing when I press the right mouse button. This drastically improves the fighting capabilities of this gun, meaning I can aim for where they're going to be more reliably than before. We also meet Cortez, who's that dude we met at the beginning of the game. He's got a bet going on that I was going to die, and since technically I am still alive, he counts that. What a kind man. Anyway, Cortez needs our help to start the tram back up, and holy cow! Get it, Cortez! Oh, he's so good! Oh my god! Yo, he just kicked that guy to death! Forget Kane, just fire Cortez out of a cannon at the Macron. He'll kill them all! Someone clone this dude's feet! Some nice young man gives us an upgrade to the lightning gun that makes it bounce to nearby enemies. This makes it actually compelling to use to me, since you can hit those bunched up guys with a spreading beam of death. Daddy-like. Once the tram is back up and running, we do this little tram level that is over so fast that I honestly wasn't sure what happened. I mean, on one hand, these tram ride levels are always super long and annoying in other games, but holy hell, that was short. Okay, that is probably a teleporter. Yeah, that's a teleporter for sure. Dudes start pouring out of those Tesla coil looking things and coming out in predictable patterns. Oh, and we picked up another special marine named Sledge. I wonder if he can do the same thing as... Oh. Nope. So Cortez has just some kind of superhuman leg then, huh? Alright, I'm down for it. After some panic shooting, doing my best impression of a Russian squatting dancer, we managed to open up these things and... Driders? Again? Ugh, well, I wiggle and jiggle my way out of this whole situation, wiping the floor with them as fast as I can, before deciding that it isn't important enough for me to deal with. Let's just get the hell out of here. Okay, this next level, this is insanely long. It just kept going and going and going. Ugh. Every enemy that you could think of is getting mustered to try and stop me. I'm pretty sure we have seen all the major enemies for the game. Spec Ops orange popsicle dudes are backing up all the huge jerks with lasers now. At this point, I really start to understand how the guns work. So everything but one or two of them are being used to deal with a specific type of guy. Big shield dudes, rockets and grenades. Little annoying combat roll dudes, hit him with a blast from the nail gun. Orange pops, rocket launcher, plasma bolts, or general cleanup. Finally, we get to the top of the second tower and... Oh no! It's the dudes from Doom Eternal! Last time we saw these idiots, we've been fighting them with the tanks and the mech. And they're the sorts of those massive explosion sounds! Ugh! I don't... Oh my god! Oh no. The rockets they fire? I can't dodge them. They just chase you like some slow snail. Fuck! Okay. What is... Yeah, that's right. Do you know how to deal with the Doom Hunters? Do you know what weapon works best? Everyone loves the story of an underdog. And here we have the best one, folks. The assault rifle, baby! In a twist of fate, the assault rifle gives you the precision needed to shoot the rockets and let you peck the floating dudes to death. I'm shocked. I'm sure there's a more efficient weapon than this, but you can basically negate all damage if you're accurate enough with your shots. I love this. I'm turning one of the worst weapons in the game into a way to neuter those annoying assholes. Assault rifle for life! Anyway, we hit the switch and it's part 2 of a 3-part JPEG laser activation. One more to go. We leave Sledge here to watch this whole thing, and we take an elevator right out of there. Okay, that was cool, I guess. I think he's gonna show up soon. I mean, he's been teasing us and leaving all kinds of hints at a future encounter. And boy, is he thick, my goodness. Slipping into this fancy-looking room, you can feel the end coming up. This poor dude blew himself up, and now we have a fully kitted squad. After killing about 6 or 7 guys endlessly, I realized they were just pouring in through the teleporters. So, deciding that running is not a cowardly tactic, I start rushing through the areas to get past these jerkasses. This crap is getting hard. Between the endlessly spawning morons and the frantic gunfighting, and the game's serious lack of health pickups, I'm feeling the burn at this point. Thankfully, Science Man tells us to jump under this teleporter to hit the last tower, and anything to get me out of this place as soon as possible. This level. I love this level. This level is just perfect. Seriously, the whole tower is worse off than the one we crashed into earlier. The one we, rammed into. The big guy is hanging out in this area, killing dozens of our boys while I'm trying to climb over every pile of rubble. It seriously feels like a prototype of the level in Wolfenstein, in which you are being chased by the London Monitor after you drop in from orbit. You know what? Quake 4 didn't do any of this perfectly, but it set the stage for every FPS to follow. Floating weapons platform enemy? It's the Doom Hunter in Doom Eternal. The calm, pristine sections in which you get some optional dialogue and explore a little environment? It's the base in New Colossus. I had no idea how influential this game was. Every aspect of it is not nearly as good as it could be, but I can't blame them for that. They did the best they could at the time they did it, and I really appreciate this game after playing it. Finally, we reach the big boy that has been haunting us in the background. Predictably, he's guarding the button on the top of the tower. As far as boss fights in FPS games go, this is the best one I've ever played from this era, so far. He isn't super special. You mostly have to dodge a few spots side to side and stuff, but he tanks enough damage to drag the fight down appropriately. The more damage you do to him, the more desperate his tactics start to feel, and at one point he's actually chasing you with his giant jetpack and trying to melt you with the fire. I honestly don't know if there's a way to avoid this damage, but what this game has taught me is, just keep shooting. Just never, ever stop shooting. The only disappointing part of this fight is his death. He just turns into a ragdoll and melts, leaving behind some kind of floating thing that melts right after him. That's something that's stupid satisfying with the later id games. The curated first-person cutscenes in which you smash the boss's head in or shove the BFG up their throats. It really sells how badass you are. The final button is pushed. The laser beams are all targeting the tower, and we've opened the teleporter to the Nexus. So, let's do this. Why the hell did he try to go through that? Did no one tell him about the exploding teleporter syndrome? Well, whatever. This has to be the final part of the game. Science Man even tells us once we go in there, there's no coming out. Which, is the kind of stuff you say in an RPG or an open world game. Not a linear FPS. This level. This motherfucking level. The moment you walk over and a little door closes, you know something is going to go bad here. Special Forces dudes pour out in front of one of the mini-bosses that rush you with an explosive shot. After that, I disable the security field and find myself clearing an elevator with the black hole gun, and then using the nail gun in the elevator itself. Dudes are jumping out of glass and trying to surround me, but funnily enough, at this point they are just pushovers. Near the bottom, you get flanked by two of those floating scream bitches, and one of the artillery dudes starts coming up the stairs. I do my best to line them up and fire a black hole down to damage all three of them at once. This level is oppressive, and I feel like it's almost slightly cursed. I had footage cropped on me twice, so if it looks like I'm a seer with future sight, it's because I went through the first half of this level like 3 times. This dog right here corrupted my footage. I think he's cursed or something. And this level is not short. It just keeps going and going. At one point, I'm riding down this elevator, and I get to see the Macron just doing his evil little laugh right at me. Oh yeah, keep laughing, dirtbag. I got a black hole gun with your name on it. This room is annoying. I use the black hole gun on the right to kill the 2 orange popsicles, and then pick off the artillery guy on the left. Then, to make things just a little more complicated, the annoying siren comes out and starts screaming at me. I get it. Die. You know what's really killing me? The orange pops with the freaking hyper blaster. Look at this crap. You see that number? That's negatives. He did all that damage to me with just one little burst. If you stop moving in this game, it is just instant death. This room. 4 of the charging mini-boss dudes come at me, 2 at a time, and I am sweating bullets at this point. I have headaches from the crashes, the footage is being corrupted, and the game decides to throw all this at me while I'm almost out of armor and low on health. Not on top of that, there's not a lot of checkpoints here. Oh no, 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 Doom Hunters! My ears! Yeah, While you were trapped inside this room after having fought off 4 of those mini-boss dudes, you get 4 more Doom Hunters. I hate to say it, but the 2 guns I like the least wind up saving my life in this room, the railgun and the assault rifle. It's like one final send-off for the assault rifle. It's always loyal, it's always ready to back us up if we need it. Alright, that has to be the end of the room. Spiders! Seriously! This room itself is one of the absolute hardest in the entire game, and I lost the spiders, frankly because I was just not prepared to deal with the nightmare of more enemies in that little room. I even fell down one of the stupid holes for a death once. Finally, making it out of that room, we head into... What is this? This is the heart of the Scrounged network, where all their data is stored. You know, what even are the Scrounged? Some unknown alien war machine that is still operating after the end of their own civilization? Is this just how they've always lived? Everywhere we have been has felt like it's been built for war, built to fuel the war machine. Except for this one set of rooms. This one set of rooms has me questioning this. There are so many unanswered questions left by this, like, what do the Scrounged really want? Is it just our meat? I really need to check out that reboot they made in the 2020s. After one final group of enemies, we reach the end of one of the longest and hardest levels in the game. Here we are. Here it is. The final level. The final boss. This catwalk is predictably littered with equipment that has no right to be here. I mean, there's literally no other human here. And Kane is Strongified. How is he finding all of this stuff? Whatever. We head into this room and Science Man warns us that Macron is right beyond the door. He gives us his signature giggle and then begins his attack, and holy cow, his health is dropping like a rock. Oh damn, I guess I killed him. Oh, no, wait, of course, the room changes color and he enters the second phase. The first one was obviously too easy to... Oh, no, wait, he's dead again. Seriously, he has no health at all, it's pathetic. No, wait, hold on, something more is happening. Oh, I see. They didn't completely drop the Lovecraft, because here we have a giant Eldritch brain. The first time I got to this phase, I didn't really understand what I was supposed to do, so I wound up just dying to all these endless ads the brain was spawning. They all got increasingly powerful, and I just kept shooting them. But a second run through the Macron's paper health, I wound up right back here, and I decided to look up. You know what? That looks shootable. What if I... Yeah, that's... You shoot that. Sadly, this boss fight really does not match up to the quality of the last level. It isn't bad, per se, but they really could have given him a larger health pool, and made the final brain fight a little more complicated than annoying enemies shoot you while you're performing a gun lobotomy. Anyway, the brain explodes in a really weird-looking cutscene that looks straight out of Doom Eternal. Like he even has the same facial expression of muted anger. Damn, Kane, be happy! You just killed the Superborg! You get back onto the Hannibal in the final cutscene, and while everyone is breaking their arms, patting you on the back, totally ignoring that Kane is never going to lead any kind of normal life now that he's like 90% orange cyborg parts, we get a little cliffhanger.
Yes? Yes, sir. What is it? But, sir, Kane just got back.
Hey, what do you say we go for
Yes, sir. I'll see to it.
All right with you, Kane?
Kane, you have new orders.
Boy, I hope that doesn't become like a disappointing lack of content for 20 years. What can I say about Quake 4? It doesn't make the same mistakes that Doom 3 made before it. You know, it's not relying on the lighting engine to try and compete with Half-Life. Instead, it focused on a tight and fun little romp through a drab alien world. My biggest issues with it are all focused on stuff that it didn't really do as well as its later contemporaries. But it seriously feels like this game built the skeleton of the modern boomer shooters, more so than Doom 3 ever could have. That's really telling to the quality of the Raven team, and I'm way happier with my playthrough in this game than I originally thought I would be. Yeah, sure, the background was a giant JPEG half the time. It was stingy as hell with ammo and health, and everyone was the same sex clone of a generic shooter man. But you know what? It has character. It has heart. And you have to give it credit for that. I like Quake 4. I think I'm going to try the other ones out. Well, welcome to the end of the video. So we're doing this whole YouTube thing. Let me just say that I'm so happy you finished this. Quake 4 might not be what anyone expected, or wanted, but I think it's an important stepping stone to later gameplay videos. As before, I'd love for you to subscribe to the channel. and if you enjoyed the video, liking it would help me greatly. Also, I'm currently open to suggestions for other games in the comments. Thank you to all of you on board who watched my little video, and I hope you have a wonderful day.